Designer's Cafe.
Below the title bar and above the drawing window, I have the ribbon. The ribbons are organized by tabs, each tab representing a different ribbon, and each ribbon being divided into panels. Each panel on the ribbon collects together tools related to a particular function. So my Home tab, where I will spend most of my time when I'm drawing, has panels for my draw tools, modify tools, layers, and annotation when I'm adding text and numerical information to my drawing. Now, depending on the size of your display, some of the panels may show in a condensed form, but when I hover over them with my mouse, they will fly out to show me that the tools that are involved in that particular panel. The ribbon, like any other part of our AutoCAD graphic interface, can be customized. If I go up on top of the tabs and right-click the mouse, you can see that you have some options here. And one of the things that might happen is occasionally when you start up AutoCAD, the ribbon may not appear. In order to open the ribbon, if you go down to the command line and type the command ribbon, that will open the ribbon in case it doesn't open. Now you notice that each of the tool panels may have additional tools to what is showing. If you see down here where I see the panel name, I have a little arrow. This indicates a flyout, so if I click, this will give me a flyout of additional tools that go with my draw panel. When I go off of that, it automatically closes. If I wanted it to stay open, I could pin that open so that I could use those tools repeatedly and then unpin to have it close. Now the tools themselves also may have flyouts. So for example, here my circle command, you can see a flyout arrow. If I click, you notice I get a flyout that shows me different options that I have for drawing a circle. And I can choose from this flyout menu which option I want to use. If I go to any of the tool icons and I hover for just a moment, you'll notice that I get a tooltip. It identifies for me the name of the tool and some information about it. If I hover longer, I get an extended tooltip, and this will give me some examples and it will show me some information about how to use the tool. When I have this open, if I were to hit the F1 key, this will open up my Autodesk Exchange, and you notice that I get extended help information about this particular command. I can change how the ribbon looks in my user interface by using this button here at the end of the tabs. You notice I have a drop-down menu that allows me to minimize to just the tabs, or I can minimize to the panel titles. So you can see under each one of these I get a flyout now that shows me the tools that would be involved, basically the panel. Or I can minimize to panel buttons, again a flyout that shows all of the individual tools. Or I can use this this kind of toggle switch, which will toggle me back to my ribbon, or it will toggle me back to the choice that I've made for an alternate version or alternate view. It's good to know about these in case you're working and it gets changed, or you're using a computer where someone has set it up differently. You know how to get the ribbon panels back. Let's look for a moment at the Model and Layout tabs that are located here at the bottom of my drawing window. There are two places that we work in AutoCAD. We work in model space and we work in paper space. Model space represents the area that I'm going to do most of my drawing. This is the place where I draw my object at full size. Later, when I want to put the object onto papers for printing, then I will use paper space to actually scale my drawing down to fit on the piece of paper that I'm going to use for printing. Here I'm looking at an object that's been drawn in model space. It's been drawn to its actual size and dimensions have been added. Now I'm ready to put this object onto paper, so I would go down to my Layout tabs. I can see that I have two layouts. If I hesitate, it shows me a thumbnail of what's contained in each of the layouts. I'm going to click on Layout 1. Now in most cases, if you start a drawing from scratch, it contains no title blocks and the layout will just be represented by a piece of paper, and on that piece of paper will be a viewport. The viewport is like a window that looks through the piece of paper into model space and displays your drawing. When I'm in paper space, and notice down here on the status bar it says that I'm in paper space, I can work with my viewport. I can resize it. I can add additional viewports for additional views of my object, and I can also draw on my piece of paper things like a title block or add text, and these things will only exist in paper space and they will be printed onto my piece of paper. So for example, if I look at my second layout, you'll notice that this layout I can still see my piece of paper, but I also see a title block that's been drawn in paper space. This does not show up when I change back to model space. I don't see any of my title block because it's been drawn on my piece of paper in paper space. Here I could be editing any of this information. Now I still have a viewport. If I double click inside my viewport, you notice that the viewport becomes active. This dark line represents the fact that my viewport now is active, and I'm reaching through my piece of paper into model space. Down here you notice that this is changed to model. What that means is that my viewport has become active. I'm reaching through like a hole in my piece of paper into model space. Now I can manipulate my object. I can change its scale. In this case, I've changed its scale to 1 equals 1, which means its actual size relative to this piece of paper. And you can see that it's too large for my viewport window. So I would scale it to a smaller scale. I will scale it again at a scale of 1 to 2, or 1/2 size. And that better fits into my viewport window on my piece of paper. I can use a pan command to center my viewport object in the viewport, and double click outside in paper space to deactivate my viewport window. Now I'm back into paper space. With these things done, I'm ready to print, and what I'm seeing on my piece of paper should be exactly what I get coming out of the printer. My title block and my object scaled to a size 1/2 its actual size.